I the a-hole for refusing to give up my first class seat for my pregnant sister-in-law? A few weeks ago, my husband, a 35-year-old male, and I, 32-year-old female, planned a vacation to Europe. We booked everything months in advance, including first class seats for the 10-hour flight. We don't fly often, but we had saved up for this trip, and since I have chronic back issues, flying economy for that long trip would have been miserable. Enter my brother, a 38-year-old male, and his wife, a 36-year-old female, who is currently 6 months pregnant. They weren't originally supposed to come, but after hearing about our trip, they decided to book some last-minute tickets and join us. Cool, no problem. Except they could only afford economy seats. Again, not my issue. Fast forward to the day of the flight. As soon as we got to the gate, my sister-in-law started dropping hints about how uncomfortable she was going to be in economy. Then just before boarding, my brother outright asked if I'd be willing to switch seats with my sister-in-law so she could rest and stretch out during the flight. I was honestly shocked and said, "No, we paid for these seats months ago, and I need it for my back." Sister-in-law looked upset and started saying she was going to be so cramped and that it just wasn't fair since I wasn't pregnant. My brother then said, "Oh, come on, it's just basic human decency." At this point, my husband stepped in and said, "If she's uncomfortable, you should have booked her a better seat. That's not our problem." We boarded while my brother and sister-in-law glared at us, and they barely spoke to us the entire trip. When we landed, I got a text from my mom saying I was selfish for not giving up my seat and that I should have prioritized family over comfort. She said I should have just sat with my husband in economy since he was already there. He prefers economy because he sleeps easy on flights. I told her if it was that important, she could reimburse me for my ticket. Cue in the radio silence. Now my brother and sister-in-law are still annoyed, and my mom is making passive-aggressive comments about how I don't care about the family. Am I the a-hole for keeping the seat I paid for instead of giving it to my pregnant sister-in-law? Now, somewhere between the flight attendant's safety demonstration and announcement about tray tables in their upright position, the pregnant woman gets a bright idea. She thinks it would only be fair if you swapped seats with her, letting this expected mother stretch out in first class while you take her place back in economy seating. And wait, why is that? Well, because she's pregnant. And she believes that should automatically entitle her to special treatment. Oh, sweetie, it's the entitlement for me. This is a story that perfectly illustrates how entitlement can clash with boundaries and why respect should always take a front seat, even at 30,000 feet. High five to you, sis, for politely declining your sister-in-law's suggestion. After all, you paid for your seat, just like your sister-in-law or her husband paid for theirs. Regardless of the fact that you suffer with back pain, you paid hundreds of extra dollars to ensure your comfortability during that flight. And while it's understandable that she'd want more comfort, especially when carrying another human inside of her, the reality is wanting something doesn't automatically mean you're entitled to it. Quick question. Are we dealing with entitlement or consideration here? Let me know down in the comments below. I'd like to hear your thoughts on that. Entitlement says, I deserve what you have simply because of my situation. But consideration says, I understand your situation and I respect your right to what you've earned. Pregnancy is hard. No one's denying that. I myself have been there. But when entitlement enters the conversation, it shifts the focus from how can we help each other to what can you do for me? That kind of mindset isn't just unfair, it's manipulative in my opinion. If comfort was that important, why not book a first-class ticket from the start? Or if money was a factor, why not politely ask the airline if any upgrades were available? There were other solutions that didn't involve making you feel guilty for wanting to enjoy something that you paid for. You were politely asked to relinquish your seat, and you politely replied no. No is a complete sentence. When you said you didn't want to swap seats, that should have been the end of conversation. Too often, entitlement will push people to keep asking, to try to wear you down until you cave. But respecting someone's boundary, especially when they're not doing anything wrong, is a basic part of human compassion. We live in a time when setting boundaries is encouraged. But what's the point if other people feel that those boundaries only apply when they become inconvenienced? Boundaries are not optional. I can't stress that enough. A little gratitude goes a long way. And entitlement is gratitude's greatest enemy. Instead of fixating on what she didn't have, your pregnant sister-in-law could have shifted her perspective. How about she had a seat on the plane? How about she was traveling with her partner to Europe? Or how about she was carrying a new life, something that many women would give anything for? Gratitude doesn't erase discomfort, but it helps us see things that are going right in our life. Entitlement isn't always loud. Sometimes it shows up in subtle ways. Expecting other people to make sacrifices we would make ourselves, or assuming our needs automatically outweigh someone else's. Nobody offered to pay for your first-class ticket. They just wanted your seat, even though they purchased a seat of their own. It cost about $700 less, but they had a ticket nevertheless. So sis, you definitely are not the a-hole for not switching seats with your sister-in-law. You deserve to have the comfort and luxury that you paid for. And to my listening audience, the next time you find yourself wanting something that someone else has, ask yourself this: do I deserve this because it's fair, or simply because I want it? Respect people's boundaries. Appreciate what you've been given. And remember that just because someone says no, it doesn't mean that they're the villain in your story. When you do what's best for you, you're going to piss some people off. But that's okay. And you want to know why? Because you come first, and they'll live to see another day. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.